Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome back to another thoughtful and engaging episode of the Easy English Room podcast. We're truly delighted to have you here with us today, and as always, we're excited to support you step by step on your journey to improving your English in a way that feels natural, relaxed, and genuinely useful in everyday life.
Well, hello, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to have you joining us once again. My name is Emma, and I'm here with my co-host Henry, speaking to you from London. We always enjoy spending this time with you, sharing ideas, stories, and practical language tips.
Yes, that's right. I'm Henry, and together with Emma, we'll guide you through today's discussion in a clear and friendly way. Here at the Easy English Room podcast, we truly believe that learning English should not feel stressful or complicated. Instead, it should feel engaging, meaningful, and connected to real-life experiences that you can relate to.
Exactly. So rather than focusing only on grammar rules or memorization, we bring you conversations inspired by real situations. This helps you not only understand vocabulary, but also see how native speakers naturally express ideas, react to situations, and communicate effectively.
Well, Emma, with all the recent updates we've been seeing throughout 2026 about Hurricane Milton, I've found myself thinking quite deeply about extreme weather and how unpredictable it can be. It really made me reflect on how powerful nature is and how quickly situations can change. So let me ask you, have you ever personally experienced a severe storm or something that made you feel that same sense of uncertainty?
That's a really interesting question, Henry. And to be honest, yes, I have experienced something similar. A few years ago, while I was staying just outside London in a quieter area, a very powerful storm suddenly developed. At first, it didn't seem too serious, but gradually the wind became stronger and stronger, and the situation changed very quickly.
That must have been quite intense, especially if it developed so suddenly. Can you describe what it felt like in more detail at the time? I imagine it must have been both surprising and a bit frightening.
Yes, it really was. The wind was so strong that it felt like it was pushing against the walls of the house continuously. At the same time, the rain was falling heavily, almost like a curtain of water outside the windows. You could hear branches snapping and objects moving outside, which made everything feel quite chaotic and unpredictable.
That sounds like a very unsettling experience. Situations like that really remind us how little control we have over nature, don't they?
Exactly. And what made it even more difficult was that we lost electricity completely. For nearly 3 days, we had no power at all, so we had to rely on candles for light and use flashlights when moving around. It really made me realize how dependent we are on electricity for even the simplest daily activities.
That's such a good point. We often don't think about these things until they're suddenly taken away from us. It really changes your perspective.
Absolutely. And interestingly, with all the recent news about Hurricane Milton, those memories came back very clearly. It made me think about how much more difficult it must be for people facing storms on a much larger scale.
I completely agree. Hurricane Milton has truly been one of the most powerful storms we've seen in recent years, and the way it developed is quite fascinating when you think about it.
Yes, absolutely. It actually began as a tropical disturbance near the west coast of Africa, which at first might not seem very dangerous. However, as it moved over the warm waters of the Atlantic Ocean, it gradually started gaining strength.
That's right, and those warm ocean waters play a crucial role. They provide the energy that allows storms to grow stronger and become more organized over time.
Exactly. As the system continued moving westward, it developed into a tropical storm and then intensified further into a Category 4 hurricane, which is extremely powerful and dangerous.
And just to give our listeners some context, a Category 4 hurricane has wind speeds between 130 and 156 miles per hour. That kind of force can cause severe structural damage and completely change landscapes.
Yes, and it's honestly difficult to imagine winds that strong unless you've experienced something similar. It's like a constant, powerful force that doesn't stop, creating a very intense and overwhelming environment.
Meanwhile, meteorologists were carefully monitoring the storm using advanced satellite technology, tracking every change in its structure and movement.
That's right. They noticed that the eye of the hurricane was becoming more defined, which is usually a clear sign that the storm is strengthening and becoming more organized.
And just to clarify again, The eye is the calm center of the hurricane, while the surrounding eye wall is where the strongest winds and heaviest rain occur.
Exactly. Initially, there was hope that the storm might change direction and avoid land completely. However, due to changing atmospheric conditions, it shifted course and headed towards coastal areas.
That must have created a lot of anxiety for people living in those regions, especially with limited time to prepare.
Yes, and as a result, many communities had to act very quickly, making urgent decisions to ensure their safety.
When we look at the overall impact, it's honestly hard to fully understand the scale of the destruction caused by Hurricane Milton.
I completely agree. Entire neighborhoods were affected, with homes destroyed and infrastructure severely damaged. It's the kind of situation that's difficult to imagine until you actually see it.
And beyond the physical damage, there were widespread power outages that lasted for days, leaving thousands of people without electricity or basic services.
Yes, and on top of that, many roads were flooded or blocked by debris, which made rescue operations slower and more complicated.
Sadly, many families were displaced, forced to leave their homes and find temporary shelter elsewhere.
And even more tragically, lives were lost, which reminds us how serious and dangerous these events can be.
At the same time, it's important to highlight the incredible response from emergency teams and communities.
Absolutely. Emergency services acted quickly, issuing evacuation orders and setting up shelters to protect people before the storm arrived.
Rescue teams worked continuously using boats and helicopters to reach people trapped by floodwaters.
And what's really inspiring is the number of volunteers who came forward to help, offering support, supplies, and assistance wherever needed.
However, despite these efforts, there were still concerns about preparedness and communication.
Yes, some areas didn't receive warnings early enough, which made it harder for people to react in time.
This shows how important it is to improve communication systems and emergency planning.
Exactly. Better coordination and clearer information can make a huge difference in saving lives.
Another important issue is climate change and its connection to stronger storms.
Yes, scientists believe that rising ocean temperatures are making hurricanes more intense and more frequent.
And rising sea levels increase the risk of flooding during storms.
So, events like Hurricane Milton may be a warning sign that we need to take environmental issues more seriously.
There's also the economic impact to consider.
Yes, many businesses were destroyed and people lost their sources of income.
Insurance systems were overwhelmed with claims.
And property values dropped significantly, affecting long-term recovery. Now, let's bring in Laura for the vocabulary section.
Thank you, Emma and Henry. Hello, everyone. Let's take some time to go through the key vocabulary from today's discussion in a clear and detailed way. Hurricane. A hurricane is a very powerful storm with strong winds and heavy rain. It can cause serious damage, especially in coastal areas. Tropical disturbance. A tropical disturbance is the early stage of a storm system in warm ocean areas. It can grow stronger and turn into a hurricane. Storm surge. A storm surge is when the sea level rises higher than normal because of a storm. This can lead to dangerous flooding in coastal regions. Meteorologists. Meteorologists are scientists who study the weather and climate. They help us understand storms and give warnings before they arrive. Eye of the hurricane. The eye is the calm center of a hurricane. Even though everything around it is violent, this part feels quiet and still. Eye wall. The eye wall is the most intense part of the hurricane. This is where the strongest winds and heaviest rain happen. Atmospheric conditions. Atmospheric conditions refer to the state of the air around us. Things like temperature, wind, and pressure all affect the weather. Unimaginable. Unimaginable means something so extreme that it's hard to believe or picture. It's often used to describe severe damage or loss. Showed no mercy. When we say something showed no mercy, we mean it was extremely harsh and destructive. It didn't stop or weaken at all. Displaced. Displaced means people are forced to leave their homes. This usually happens after disasters like storms or floods. Toll. The toll is the damage or loss caused by an event. It can be about people, property, or the environment. Economic toll. The economic toll refers to the financial damage caused by something. It affects businesses, jobs, and the economy. Plummeted. Plummeted means something dropped very quickly and suddenly. It's often used for prices or values. Power outages. Power outages happen when electricity stops working. This can last for hours or even days after a storm. Debris. Debris is the broken pieces left after destruction. It can include wood, glass, and parts of buildings. Evacuation. Evacuation is when people are moved from a dangerous place to a safe one. It usually happens before or during disasters. Rescue teams. Rescue teams are trained people who help save others in danger. They work in difficult conditions to protect lives. Working around the clock. Working around the clock means working all day and night without stopping. It shows urgency and dedication. Stranded. Stranded means being stuck somewhere and unable to leave. This often happens during floods or strong storms. Bounce back. To bounce back means to recover after a difficult situation. It shows strength and hope after problems. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to stay strong and recover quickly. It's an important quality during tough times. Wake-up call. A wake-up call is something that makes people realize a serious problem. It pushes them to take action. Selflessness. Selflessness means caring more about others than yourself. It's when someone helps others without thinking of their own benefit.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was incredibly helpful and very easy to follow.
Yes, we really appreciate it. Building your vocabulary step by step is one of the most effective ways to improve your English.
And with that, we've reached the end of today's episode. We truly hope you found this discussion both informative and engaging.
Don't forget to download the PDF and review the vocabulary.
Also, feel free to share your thoughts with us and subscribe for more episodes from the Easy English Room podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. Keep practicing, stay curious, and continue learning every day.
Take care, everyone, and keep moving forward with confidence in your English journey.
And remember, your progress doesn't stop here. Explore more lessons and continue building your skills step by step.